Dear colleagues, we are continuing our lineup of presentations dedicated to defending your network inside and outside from different type of attacks, and the next presentation will be on such an important topic as the Sandbox solution. It is not a secret that oftentimes the company's code is being assembled consecutively with in long periods of time, and at the same time it has been working only in specific times. How can you make sure that your code is operational in a safe environment? How do you set up all this information of capturing malware and its liquidation? It will be shared by Kseniya Kirillova. She is the product marketing manager for Positive Technologies. Thank you, Alexander. Dear colleagues, hi everyone. I will be doing my presentation, and my colleague Alexey Vishnyakov, who will join us a little bit later. In the second part of my presentation, he will join us. Well, here we go. Just a second, please.
Так, собственно, прежде чем приступать вообще к освещению самого продукта, о котором мы дальше будем говорить, я бы хотела осветить такую тему, как атаки с применением вредоносного ПО, как тематика в целом, почему сейчас большинство компаний находятся под угрозой и как нужно действовать, чтобы снизить связанные с этими атаками риски. Пробежимся в первую очередь по тому, как себя чувствуют атаки с применением вредоносного ПО. В данный момент по нашей статистике они находятся в топе угроз. Применяется вредоносное ПО более чем в половине случаев при реализации атак. Чаще всего оно распространяется, естественно, через электронную почту. Это 74% всех атак, которые вообще происходят. Чуть реже это компрометация компьютеров, серверов и какого-либо сетевого оборудования. И совсем такой более узкий кейс — это использование веб-сайтов. Какие вообще вредоносные программы являются наиболее популярными? Естественно, шифровальщики — это сейчас короли вредоносного ПО. Также очень часто мы встречаемся с вредоносным ПО для удаленного управления в атаках и со шпионским ПО, который может использоваться, например, для промышленного шпионажа. Каким вообще последствиям приводят данные атаки? Скорее всего, вы эти последствия практически, наверное, ежедневно видите в новостных лентах, во всех заголовках. Они связаны как с какими-то небольшими компаниями, так и с крупными компаниями и затрагивают абсолютно все отрасли. Насколько можно вообще увидеть на слайде, да, это просто такая совсем простая выборка. Это и банки, то есть финансовая отрасль, и многочисленные промышленные предприятия, и какие-то компании, которые вообще вроде бы не занимаются какой-то серьезной коммерцией. Один из моих любимых случаев, да, здесь на слайде приведен, это случай с Sans занимается обучением сотрудников и специалистов по кибербезопасности. Особенно иронично, наверное, то, что именно в этой компании произошел подобный инцидент из-за того, что один из сотрудников не распознал фишинговое письмо, произошла утечка данных, около 28 тысяч записей персональной информации были похищены из института. И такие случаи происходят практически ежедневно. Как вообще действуют атакующие и с чем связана, собственно, насколько высокая эффективность атак с применением вредоносного ПО. В первую очередь, это то, что атакующие применяют самые разные способы доставки вредоносных программ, и это может быть, как уже упомянутая ранее, электронная почта. Это могут быть email, like I've mentioned before. This could be the forms of the web of downloads on the websites. This could be the situation when you, or the company, which is accepting some documents from the clients via website. And if these documents could be uploaded to the clients, to your websites, also the attackers could do the same to your website. They can upload some documents. And this could be also malware located at any web resources
place which your employee visits very often. Another factor impacting the efficiency of these attacks is that the malware in the modern world almost always is built in such a way to bypass the basic protection measures in any companies, like antiviruses, different gateways of IDS and IPS system, and oftentimes these kind of hacking groups involved in major hacks, they have capabilities of using these products to double-check and basically to see if they can bypass the defense systems. And after this kind of trial, they can actually launch those malware campaigns confident that these basic protection layers will not be able to withstand. And although we may have some specific solutions like sandboxes, you can also bypass sandboxes and the attackers. Very often built into their toolbox some mechanisms enabling this malware to identify a virtual network. And this kind of malware is ending up in this virtual environment. It's doing a number of checks and knowing that, for example, okay, I'm right now not in and not on a real machine, I'm in a virtual environment. That's why I'm going into the sleep mode. And then this kind of malware can end up in your infrastructure, and it will be launched only if you have the right environment, the targeted machine, that is. And of course, the attackers are moving on very fast. They are developing very fast, and they're using their toolbox very fast. They're using the newest techniques of intrusion, and to be able to not compete with them equally, we also have to run very, very fast and use all types of new technologies. Well, how can you fight this situation? How can you counter it? If we are speaking about different modes of malware delivery, it's quite obvious you have to shut off all the main gateways and threads. If you know that the main sources of the malware delivery would be emails and the file storage, then you would concentrate on that. If you have any access on the internet or email, you also focus on them. You have to understand that this kind of protection should be proliferated to all the potential bottlenecks from which the attack may come. If we are speaking about malware trying to cheat or trying to deceive the basic protection measures, you need some kind of advanced technologies which will be more up-to-date and which will enable you to so how to block these kind of spying techniques? Speaking about sandboxes and bypassing sandboxes, you need some protection mechanisms from bypassing these sandboxes. Let's say if the sandbox has been attacked by the malware, it has to identify that something is trying to identify something and then block it, and then also to be able to build this kind of environment for the malware which will be attractive to the malware in terms of launching attack. And if we are also talking about the speed, and if we're talking that you also have to catch up with this, not lag behind these attackers. And like it's Alice in Wonderland. You remember to stand on one place, you have to run very fast. So we have to run. We have to have an ongoing situation of exploring these threats and fill your systems of protection with this new information about the threats. And you as a company have to be on the verge of this knowledge. And if you do not have the capability to get this knowledge, to obtain this knowledge inwardly, you have to take the external knowledge provided by some other sources. And in view of all this situation, we have been developing our own solutions. It's called PT Sandbox. One of them, this is actually a sandbox, where on top of some other technologies, we have added the technology of customizing virtual environments. And I will tell you what the whole idea and what's advantage of this and why we need it. Let's move on. to talk about the product itself, and let's discuss all these factors which I've mentioned already and how we are closing these risks. PT Sandbox is working with all the main threat sources. You can defend your corporate email system. Like I mentioned before, this will be the most popular means or source of attacks. 74% attacks are attacks on your corporate email systems. We can identify and block the malware in the inserts in the applications. Also, you can protect the web traffic if your employees or your company's employees are downloading some files from internet. You can double check these files also. Or if you have any file storage where these kind of files could be uploaded by someone, then PT Sandbox enables you to double check these files whether they can have any threats before you upload them to your network resource. And another source would be the capability of manual checks, running manual checks, where via the web interface the security officer can actually check any files, or when employees are sending suspicious files to a special email, they get a verdict to see whether this file is safe or not. Can they use it in the future, or should they block it instead? What else are we using to make sure that we identify the malware which can bypass the basic means of protection? We have several technologies. Each file ending up in the infrastructure is undergoing integrated check, static and dynamic analysis with a sandbox using unique rules on PT Expert Security Center. And these rules, I'll give you more details a little bit later of how the PT Expert Security Center is helping us in filling up our database and product database. And also we have the antivirus double checks, and on top of that, PT Sandbox is identifying threats in the network traffic and the whole network traffic which is being generated in the process of file analysis. Right after this file ended up in your infrastructure, it's being double checked, and even if this traffic is closed by the DLS, PT Sandbox can identify any dangerous activities. Also, PT Sandbox is capable of identifying the attacks which have not been identified prior to. We use the retrospective analysis. Right after the database will update, PT Sandbox based on schedule, which you can tune, running all the pre-analyzed files and trying to see the hidden threats or the newest threats, which have been the new and have not been identified previously by any available technologies in the past. And speaking about how we are dealing with a malware which is aimed at bypassing sandboxes. In PT Sandbox, we have an anti-evasion mechanism enabling you to get protected from the most popular techniques of bypassing sandboxes, which are being used right now by malware. And also, it is supportive of the flexible customization of virtual net environments. You can set up your virtual environments which you use in the sandbox for analysis according to how the real workstations look like in the company. Why is it needed? Why is it important? I'll give you in the next slide. Why do we need customization? Customization will enable us to detect what is not seen by other tools and means. Just a simple example. One quick example. For example, let's say we have a real workstation where you are using Google Chrome is the main browser. Like in many companies, I believe that Google Chrome would be the main browser or default browser. In the standard sandbox, usually you supply just a basic Windows and some kind of browser by default. This could be Internet Explorer or Edge. In this kind of sandbox, which is by default, you cannot somehow to manually change it. It's actually the most of the sandboxes available on the market. In this kind of sandboxes, the file will not detonate if it will be the file exploiting some Google Chrome vulnerability. In PT Sandbox, you can actually installed the right browser and to make sure that if exploit will be under Google Chrome, this file is going to be launched in your PTBox Sandbox. Absolutely, it will. And all this malignance will be seen, and you'll be able to detect it. The same is true for, the same can be implemented not only with a specific software, but a certain version of the software, especially if we are talking about the patches. If in your sandbox you have the newest version of your operational system, it's been patched and everything is installed and everything is great, when the malware will end up exploiting some vulnerability which has already been closed by the patch. Of course, it will not reveal itself in any way, but if the patch management in the company is quite slow and the gap between the release of a new patch and installation of this patch is quite big, and we actually see that those patches are being installed in the companies quite slowly, it even applies to some critical vulnerabilities. Then, when ending up at the workstation, this type of malware will do all of its malignant operations, and the company will be hacked. In the PT Sandbox, you can install the right version of an operational system, and to be sure that the malware will do what it has to do. It will reveal itself, identify itself, and within the sandbox you'll be able to see that you should not let this file to go through into your system. Talking about the knowledge database used in the product, like I was saying before, to be able to be in one place, you have to run very fast, and if you want to run, you have to run even faster. All the files and all the traffic generated in our SSL, in our sandbox, will be double-checked with unique rules supplied by the PT Expert Security Center. This will be the team of experts who are not only regularly respond to different incidents in the companies in Russia and beyond, but also they are involved in the ongoing research of the different hacking groups' activities. They're studying what kind of tactics and techniques are used by those intruders, what kind of malware they're using, in what ways, and based on that they build rules which are regularly installed into the product. Now, one fresh rule is get on a weekly basis in the product database, speaking about the dynamic analysis rules. And we are planning that in the future, this database will be ended up in these new rules will be ended up in the database even faster, to make sure that these newest threats would be offset, so that you would be ready for this kind of threat. And so we'll be able to identify the newest threats and tactics. Also, there is an additional check when we're speaking about the statistical analysis. In addition to the PT Expert Security Center rules, we're using an additional check by the antiviruses. Out of the box, we have 3 antiviruses, and plus 3 more can be plugged in. Technically, you can do it if you use the respective licenses from the vendor. This would be like integrated package of knowledge. We aggregate our own knowledge, we aggregate the knowledge of our vendors that we're partnering with to make sure that you get the maximum coverage with the newest threats against them. What are the additional capabilities with this product? I'll give you a very quick update. Of course, we can have the monitoring in blocking mode. You can either trace and track the infrastructural threats and to make your own decisions, or you can block it if, let's say, the qualification of your professionals is very high, and you are confident that you do not even want to spend your resources for detecting or dealing with these threats. It is also supportive of the most popular operational systems. Win 10, 7, and 8. It provides you very high productivity. It can analyze 10,000 plus files in 24 hours with a minimum installation, and it can also be scaled up horizontally, and you can also work with the on-premise sandbox. All the confidential data which you may have in your files will never leave the perimeter of your company, and they will be safe
PT Sandbox, естественно, как любой продукт в инфраструктуре, не находится в вакууме, он сотрудничает с другими системами безопасности. Я сейчас заострю внимание, наверное, на возможности интеграции, в первую очередь, с продуктами Positive Technologies. Есть 3 продукта, с которыми более оптимально это можно делать.
Which you can do it in a very optimal way. The one will be Max Patrol SIEM, the system of identifying incidents. PT Sandbox can pass on to Max Patrol SIEM notification about the threats which is finding, about the sources of the file, about the path of this file proliferation. You can get a bigger picture about the state of the IT infrastructure and to identify your incidents more precisely. Also, it could be PT Application Firewall. We're speaking about the integration between the firewall and on a level of web applications. The application firewall is passing the files for analysis into PT Sandbox and gets a verdict from Sandbox, and then making decisions whether to pass the file or block it. It enables you to protect your corporate web applications from the potential attacks, malware attacks. And another integration with the PT Network Attack Discovery, NTA, system of the deep network traffic analysis. Natalia has been sharing about that today, and she will also share with it. You can actually see it again, watch it again. PT Network Attack Discovery is analyzing network traffic, external and internal, can pass on the files, which it can file for analysis to the PT Sandbox, enable you to identify those threats related to the malware within the infrastructure. So that is, if attackers were able to break through your perimeter, you can identify some kind of toolbox that they have been using within your network. And both of these products are part of the PT solution to get protected from the specialized attacks. And in the next presentation, we'll have the presentation about this solution. Sergey will be sharing just about that. How can you understand whether you need PT Sandbox?
Давайте так пробежимся коротко.
Самые
подверженные атакам отрасли — это в этих отраслях, естественно, наиболее полезен будет PT Sandbox. Это такие отрасли, как промышленность, как энергетика,
public sector,
и опираясь на нашу статистику, по инцидентам и по атакам, которые мы ежегодно собираем, и эти отрасли являются наиболее подверженными Также это компании, где уже есть базовые средства защиты. То есть это не тот продукт, который должен, естественно, использоваться как самый первый продукт, который компания для себя приняла решение использовать. То есть предполагается, что у данной компании уже есть какой-то уровень зрелости информационной безопасности, есть понимание того, как работают целевые атаки, каким образом вообще компания может быть подвержена этим атакам, что является, какой источник является наиболее опасным, какой источник
what kind of source of the file would be the most dangerous? I mean, this is the company which has some knowledge about the information security. And speaking about the size of a company and the company's structure, this would be holding companies, so this would be companies with its branches and subsidiaries, and the companies working with suppliers. Why? I'll explain. Because lately we can see very popular attacks on the supply chain. When first of all, you hack not your target company where the hackers are trying to get to, but another company which may be working with this company. And this could be the less protected subsidiary of the company, because very often in your subsidiaries, in your branches, the headquarters is protected much more than those branches of a company. And this also could be other companies which have been working as supplier for for any other organization. And to be able to protect you from that, you can get your Sandbox. Another type of companies where the similar class kind of solutions are in the stage of consideration, this would be my call to our clients and partners. If right now you are considering a similar solution for your company to implement it in your company and you do not know what to choose, let us communicate, let us cooperate, and let us test our product among other products.
Наверное, давайте поговорим о том, какой, да, в чем, собственно, профит. Поговорим о рисках, от которых можно вообще, которые можно снизить, используя PT Sandbox.
Decrease using PT Sandbox.
В первую очередь это касается большей части компаний, наверное, это нарушение бизнес-процессов, когда нарушается ваша естественная компанейская жизнь, да, тот же самый, например, электронный документооборот, большая часть компаний использует электронный документооборот, переходит на цифру, и в случае, если, например, все ваши файлы оказались зашифрованы, то, естественно, бизнес-процесс нарушается, он останавливается, и деятельность компании
installs and the company cannot function.
Если мы говорим о промышленных компаниях, то это в первую очередь остановка производственного процесса.
This may mean the stop of your production
Не секрет, наверное, что на крупном производстве даже одна минута простоя может стоить $1 миллион рублей, а то и $1 миллион, да, это раньше приводило пример на слайдах. Даже за короткое время компания несет такие убытки, что лучше бы она, наверное, заботилась о безопасности немножечко раньше. Если мы говорим о наиболее популярном вредоносном ПО, я ранее упоминал, что это шифровальщики, то очень часто это необходимость, риск, это необходимость платить вымогателям. На том же самом слайде у меня был пример компании, которая была вынуждена выплатить вымогателям деньги для того, чтобы вернуться к своей нормальной деятельности, потому что они не могли никак это предотвратить уже, и не могли ничего с этим сделать, потому что действовать нужно было очень быстро. Им оказалось проще
very fast. And it was much easier for them just to pay to those hackers the amount of money that the hackers were requiring. Next would be the risk of the personal data leak and protection of personal data of your clients and employees. And it's pretty bad if let's say somebody used your personal data for some kind of scheming or financial shady operations. This could be the leak of your business secrets or your commercial know-how or data. If you do have any developments, any valuable innovative developments or any other information which could be of special interest or could be compromising you, this data also could be the subject to the leak if there'll be a malware attack. And another risk related to the supply chain attacks, like I've been saying before, this is the risk that will be your partner company may be hacked, so it will break your business relations. We had a case with one of the payment systems, without giving the names. You can track and trace it in the news. This case has not happened a long time ago. When the company has been hacked, and on behalf of this company, letters with a malware have been sent to its clients, and because of this case, a number of the banks and a number of financial companies who have been working with this payment system, they had to give up this kind of communication. And of course, for the payment system itself, it means colossal damage, financial damage. First of all, these are the risks which PT Sandbox can decrease, and if we're speaking about attacks using malware.
И, собственно, далее, наверное, к самой интересной части, да, как всегда, всегда интересно смотреть на то, что продукт на самом деле нашел. Сейчас мой коллега Алексей Вишняков, он вроде бы, насколько я знаю, уже присоединился к трансляции, расскажет, что PT Sandbox обнаружил на самом стендофе, и покажет какие-то конкретные кейсы, Леша, ты с нами сейчас, да?
Cases, and he'll give us some interesting news. Kseniya, can you hear me well?
I think
I can hear you okay. It always could be better. I'm sorry because there is a noise, because like a couple of feet from me, there is a great mock-up and something is happening, so I'm sorry for this kind of background noise taking place, and this could affect my broadcast, and hopefully you can hear me well and I can proceed. Okay, once again, hello everyone, my name is Alexey Vishnyakov. I'm the head of the software development in the Positive Technologies company. Right now, I'm going to show you of how the Sandbox has been working all these days. I'll begin with some kind of logistical data. And then I'll give you more details about how it was happening. First, let me share my screen. And we will continue. We will continue. Well, first, some numbers. I'm very sorry, but the quality of translation is very, very bad. Anyway, we've taken the period from November 12th to 16th. And as of this morning, 6 a.m., this has been the statistics, and this is what we got. In the meantime, we've identified over 5,000 of different kind of malware events. And we had about half of that, about 2,400 unique samples of the malware. We have analyzed all of that. We have analyzed all these capabilities. We've broken them down into different classes, different families. 42 malware families have been identified. And we got this kind of pie chart, which were built on this data. As you can see, almost half of them. These were the attempts of exploiting vulnerabilities. CV 2018-4993. This vulnerability enables you to use PDF files and then exploit it on the remote resource. Why? Because when you authorize users, basically they do some kind of challenge using this data, and on the left you get these kind of results. They may try to do the brute force of the user's login data, and another line's share of all of that would. I'm very sorry, but the quality of broadcast is very low. This could also be the stages which are being sent and then loading the payload more functional, the stronger one. As you can see, these are exactly the cases when we validated that yes, this is the popular tool for remote working. In addition to Metasploit, there was an additional kind of brute force called Cobalt Strike, and as you can see, Cobalt Strike has also been used here. And next, we could identify the smaller groups of this software. But first of all, I want to say that in this contest, they used IQY extension. This is for the Metaforce Excel when it enables you to download additional data. This would be Excel form. If you're using Excel, you know that you can write different kind of formulas. And you can write also the malignant formula, which will enable to kick off some code. And this was actually the code when they are pulling in this code. We have identified an interesting situation. We call it a Go agent. This would be remote access software written on the Go language. We attempted to compare it with some existing practices. We couldn't find any traces. It looks like and the tool which has been used very often for attacks, Responder. It enables you to do authorizations of the user in the network without knowing their authorization data. So-called base hash attacks, pass the hash attacks. This pass the hash attack could be successfully implemented if you can exploit this this vulnerability. This is what has been found in terms of breaking down by the types of the threats. As for the detection, we've had a lot of arguments on how to treat these statistics. This is my vision. I can see the following. On the left, we can see the percentage of coverage of external vendors we've been using for our products. And you can see that this coverage is about 70%. And it tells you that in the 30% of cases, the threats have not been detected. On the other hand, this kind of part means that we have our own knowledge and vision, and we are going to continue growing. We're going to continue to scale up our activities so that more and more cases could be identified, the more and more tools could be developed. And I'm going to show a couple of cases right here. And I think in a couple of seconds, we will see the picture. This is the infographic, and hopefully you can see it right now. Now, what we're seeing right here, I can show you the stats in the last 7 days, and you can see the statistics. And as you can see right now, what the data stream looks like. This would be the attacks distribution in time. We can see the spikes, and in this morning we've gotten about 50% of attacks in all this period. And what I would like to show you also, see the case number 1. I will just refresh my page, then I push it right here. This attack happened on the November 16, 8:35 a.m. The source was NAD. It captured the data in the network flow and sent it for the analysis. And then it has been sent by the mail-in protocol. And basically, it's a message. It's a message that has been sent. And what do we have in this message? There is an insert PDF. A good PDF, of course, should fly through any kind of protection on the cybersecurity. We can see that this is the type of the file. It's an exploit file, and we can see that this exploit attachment, this could be the technologies and the rules. And this is what you could see on the graph. In the 50% of cases, this is related to the data leak. Next case would be IQY file, like I've shared about, which could be used in the Excel operations, and we can see that the source of the file was the mail server. Right here, it's a second mail server. We can see the information from and to. It has been sent, and it has an attachment, and the drop me a line ASAP, the theme of the message. We can see the file properties. We've analyzed that, and we can see the VPO downloaders. Only statistical analysis enabled us to identify this file. And as a matter of fact, at this stage, you may have a question of why we decided to do this kind of statistical analysis. And in some cases, it does not really work. There is no development. And we've tried to as you can see in this attack, the threat has not been identified. And we can identify, we can generalize all the documents. And those matrices could be malignant and we can see the Trojan, and you can pretty much just cover these processes. Let's go next. This could be binaries. Okay, once again, the source for the investigation would be PTNAD, protocol HTTP, and this would be the file properties. We can see .exe executable file. And this was the happy end scenario when we can use all these technologies. And we used our own rules of the files detection. We could find an exploit. We identified. And we had a successful behavioral analysis where the software began to work, and actually it performed. But looking at this graph, they can do much. They had some network queries. This would be the network packet. You can see the queries. They launched some network activity, but it was not supported by the system. They decided not to pursue with an attack, and you would think the statistical analysis would not be successful, but in the moment of analysis, we'll speaking about the process. If you launch the behavior in this memory of the processes, using these very specific rules, we can see the stage or metasploit with a shellcode. It's the next component, which you can find only in the memory. It was not a huge problem to process these files. Next case, again, it will be a binary data. It will be an executable file. I'm not going to give you all the details. And instead, I just want to go to this analysis details. In addition to specific threats which has been identified in the behavioral analysis, something strange has been detected after the stat analysis. But this was not a very, very good solution. We had our own rule kicking off that this file had been protected by the VM protector. Sometimes you can change the look of the executable file to repackage it and to protect it from the subsequent analysis by the developers. This is the case. It's a very popular software, as you can see, to protect your intellectual property. And the idea was to protect those malware samples from the subsequent following analysis. This would be the way of how we detect all the cases. You can find what happened next. We had the behavioral analysis, and in the behavior we have identified some anomaly by two criteria. This would be the criteria based on the network signatures. And this would be the Trojan. If we can see some, the process, who am I? Now process which has been created in the system. But actually you can see on the graph that this is the process which has been launched, and this would be the launch command, who am I, to get all the information about the user in the system to send it for analysis. And this was enough to launch an attack. Another case, no. But here the situation is that the statistical analysis did not provide any data whatsoever. We had to launch a sample, and we had the network signatures. Maybe it's a Trojan. You can see downloader, Win32, and again the creator of the process was who am I. There were many more cases, but hopefully I've given you just a general idea in the picture that basically these attacks are complementary. You cannot say that one thing is more sophisticated than the other. It is not only about one entity, it is not only about one mode or node of attack. In some cases you can get positive effect, in other cases it may not be as successful, but I'm done, thank you. And I apologize for the quality of translation due to the poor quality of broadcast. Thank you. Well, dear colleagues, all in all, as for the presentation itself, I'm almost done. I'm going to put up my final slide, and that will be it. Okay, dear colleagues, so let's now do our Q&A. Yes, we do have the limited time, literally for a couple of questions, since some of my our partners will have to connect again. And just inviting any questions from you, because you have the one who has access to the chat box and all. Well, let's begin with a very interesting question indeed, and I wanted to ask Kseniya to ask you. Sure, we have top 500 companies in Russia which are generating about 80, according to RBC, about 90% of all the Russian GDP. However, we also have a lot of small business companies. Like I'm the representative of such a small business. I do not have my own network, but I have a lot of infrastructure which has been deployed in cloud-based resources. And I do have some workstations, like my own workstation and my mobile device. How can you protect this kind of mobile business or small business? where all the elements are very distributed. They're actually in the cloud system.
Ну, Александр, тут, наверное, я вам сходу не смогу ответить на этот вопрос. Это такой вопрос достаточно крупный, дискуссионный, да, можем в чате его обсудить в дальнейшем.
It's a separate matter of discussion. We can talk in the chat. Okay, my next question would be, the Sandbox had been issued in the March of 2020, and the Sandbox market has been in existence for a long time. How come you decided to launch this product despite many competitors?
Ну, главное препятствие, это, конечно, наверное, самое простое, это то, что наступил коронавирус, да, выпускать какие-либо новые продукты на рынок в период пандемии, это достаточно тяжелая история. А что касается конкурентов, ну, смотрите, мы не хотели сделать еще один продукт, да, еще один из многих, поэтому мы с своей стороны вложились именно в тех технологий, которые считаем
technologies which we believe to be
much больше дают по сравнению с какими-то стандартными средствами защиты, да, и та же самая кастомизация, на которой мы сейчас делаем упор, это то, что не предоставляют конкуренты. Да, это комплексный анализ с нашей собственной экспертизой. Опять же, у всех конкурентов есть собственная экспертиза, которую они могут вкладывать в этот продукт, да, и пользуются только какими-то сторонними знаниями. То есть для нас это была история про то, что нам есть еще сказать, нам есть что сказать, помимо того, что уже есть на рынке. И, наверное, учитывая, что песочница сейчас это такой же инструмент джентльменского набора, да, и именно инструменты джентльменского набора, на мой взгляд, должны всегда оставаться на острие, потому что это то, на что в первую очередь, ну, с чем в первую очередь пытаются бороться злоумышленники, и мы должны здесь в этом смысле быть впереди всей планеты,
and we have to be ahead of everyone in terms of adding some new technologies which will enable to face off and to counteract these problems. You've touched upon an interesting thing in your presentation, that those attackers, they know 20 plus means of how to bypass the systems, right? Bypass your detection counters. And speaking about who would be most interested in this tool, for just your average IT professionals or for experts, and what kind of qualification does it take to be able to work with this tool?
Если мы говорим о том, чтобы просто поставить продукт, да, и
if you simply want to install the product and to let it do its work, this would be the tool which could be in your infrastructure, even if you don't have the highly skilled professionals. And it's on the one hand, you can use this tool like it's a product.
Вполне себе среднего уровня безопасником будет работать и хорошо выполнять свою работу. Если мы говорим о том, что с другой стороны, и мы в этом направлении развиваемся, Sandbox — это в том числе экспертный инструмент, поскольку с его помощью можно получить какой-то дополнительный контекст, да, когда вы, например, занимаетесь расследованием атаки. Вот здесь по экспертности, я думаю, Леша даже больше может сказать, чем я, каким образом вообще можно использовать песочницу нашу в этом смысле. Леша, можешь прокомментировать?
Alexey, could you please give your comment? Yeah, sure. Thank you for giving me the mic. I wanted just to add what you're saying, because the Sandbox could be used by non-qualified user or poorly qualified user. If we speak about the results that we've seen on the slide so far and different components, but speaking about the more advanced users, they can get much more information from the product. This could be all layers and different of analysis, and this would also mean whenever you launch it, they can see new files in the system, and you can get information from the processes, and you can also look for additional information. Depending on the level of competence, people can integrate this data. They get additional layers of data, and this is when the Sandbox could be working with another solution which we propose in tandem, because those events, when you analyze those events, they are needed. They will be right for other professionals to get more full picture, more full view. We've had a lot of cases these days when we could investigate some incidents, because we could see that first we've had the situation we have identified these backdoors using Go and have given these files who analyze this event in CM system. So this information that you get is very important because you also provide others with relevant data. Alexey, thank you very much. And Kseniya, thank you. My final question in this session before we continue. What are you planning to invest in terms of developing your products in the next year? In your point of view, what would be the factors which you have to take into account? The very first one that we are going to focus on, this would be our expert knowledge, enabling us to be very efficient and to be able to create and detecting different threats. This would be the main focus area we're going to invest in. We also want to expand some capabilities in product customization, like I've said before in my presentation. We want to build some more convenient tools against what is available today.
Вот, то есть это всегда первое, на чем мы хотим сосредоточиться, это качество детекта, и, то есть это не производительность, а именно эффективность, да, и точность того анализа, который мы проводим. Вот, и с разных сторон, да, мы будем поддерживать как раз вот это направление.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much. Interesting presentation indeed, and as well as analysis of the existing trends we can see on the stand right now. We've seen it live. We're going to see in 5 minutes, and the next presentation will be on the topic of counteracting the targeted attack. Alexey, Kseniya, thank you very much.
Спасибо, Александр, спасибо,
bye-bye. Thank you, dear colleagues. Thank you. Until next session.